All right. Fucking, my collar's looking like Quaver crisps, bruv. They need to make collar stays for polos.
Nah,
To be honest.
you gotta leave it flopping around.
Nah, not this much flopping around. Pause.
Shout out Dame Dash.
All right.
What is this, Cyrus? What are we doing?
Do you want to kick things? I'll kick things off. All right, let me put the bazaar salesman hat on. TMBC.now. Welcome to.
Yeah, we're rusty.
Been a bit rusty. Mandem, welcome. TMBC.now. Technology Mandem Broadcasting Company. Why Mandem? Because Parsa and I are from the hood, from the ends in North London. A homage to where we grew up. And just, homage and representing the culture that we grew up in, where we come from. From the ends to the boardroom. Don't watch the polish we have now. It was not always that way. But yeah, this is just a new experiment. I tweeted recently, I said that in my view, content should take the barbell approach, which is the main side of the barbell should be in-depth, in-depth, timeless, Lindy content. So like what Iman and I were doing with the Rational VC book episodes, or Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, or Acquired Podcast, or Founders Podcast, or all these type of timeless podcasts. And then where, each episode takes, for Iman and I, it took like 60 to 80 hours to make each book episode. Like, it's a conversational audiobook for life. But then the other side of the barbell, I think, should be timely content. So reacting, if you will, to the latest, discussing the very latest, and nothing in between. So either very timely, which is realistically, we're not doing this full time. This is just an experiment. We might do this like 1 hour a week. That's it. It's not our full-time job. We'll leave that to the, what are the other ones? Like TVPN guys and those guys who have kind of pioneered the stream thing in our space. Ours is not really a stream. It's just pre-recorded 1 hour a week. Bit of a fun, I wouldn't call it a meme, but it is a fun chat with the bros, with the Mandem. And it's just an experiment. The main thing we do is, I'll let you talk in a second for yourself, but day to day you're working in robotics and machine learning. I'm obviously running a bunch of online businesses myself, solopreneur. And then, this is, and then the main content I do is the timeless book episodes, which I'm working on some stuff now, but that's fucking huge amounts of work for just one episode. This is just 1 hour a week. We hop on, we riff, because we talk anyway, and we thought, why not just hit record? Because content, you gotta have distribution in this day and age. And also some people, maybe like 5 people, enjoy listening to us as well. But yeah, it's just an asymmetric bet, just an experiment. Who knows how it will go? Who knows how long it will go? Who knows anything about it? It's just an experiment.
Yep.
And that's basically it. Did I miss anything? And then Iman is, of course, part of this too. Some episodes he'll be with us. Some episodes it will be Iman and I. Some episodes it will be Parsa and Iman. It's like we're like partially inspired by Bloomberg. That's like always been my OG inspiration. Even as a kid, I would watch Bloomberg in the ends. So yeah, it's inspired by Bloomberg. These are your 3, I guess, hosts, if you will. Lol. But let's just see how it goes. But Iman's busy today, so it's the 2 of us. And we do not take on sponsors, 99% refusal rate, as Parsa says, unless the money is extremely good and it's a brand we use ourselves. But really, this show is brought to you by Rational.School, the world's leading tech hiring accelerator with a 90% plus placement rate. Rational.School, where, go check for yourself. The landing page does the talking, the statistics. On the landing page. It's not the main thing I do, but I suck at many things, but humbly I'm one of one in the world at this specific knowledge, or if you will, my talent stacks, rest in peace, Scott Adams, of getting people hired in tech, whether they've been OGs in tech or new to tech. But I have doubled the price of the accelerator, reduced intake, and I think eventually some point I will wind it down. Why? I enjoy it. Well, I'm very good at it, but I don't necessarily enjoy it like I do with podcasting. It's not necessarily my life's work. I'm just extremely good at it. So I'm going to reduce even more the number of clients. But yeah, for now, rational.school. And this show is brought to you by Parsa.m.io, the world's leading technical blog on robotics and machine learning.
Let's get into it though.
TMBC.now, you can also subscribe to Parsa set up something. He set up, what have you set up? Technology Mandem monthly.
Yeah.
Just
TMM.
if you want to get on the email list, just once a month, no spam bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough bizarre style pitching. Let's get into it. So I guess we just riff on whatever the fuck you want. What's happening? What's on your mind that you've seen that you want to riff on a timely topic?
So basically, this has been a crazy week in robotics, especially. We've seen a lot of companies raising a ton of capital. For example, Generalist AI the other day, like 2-3 days ago, they raised like 400 million from people like Nvidia and Bezos and whatnot. Bezos has been investing a lot in physical AI. For example, he's a key investor in physical intelligence, which is like I would say the leading players in robotics at the moment, because they have top tier researchers from Berkeley and mostly in California, Stanford and whatnot. And most of the papers that they release are quite novel. But I want to talk about mostly the kind of the approach that these robotics companies use at the moment. So at the moment, we have LLMs, right? Everyone knows about LLMs. How they work is that they predict the next token. So you use transformers, and how it works is that it doesn't necessarily know the consequences of the next token. It just knows that during my training data, during my training phase, I learned that I should probably predict this next word, this next action, etc. And how robotics works is that they took this concept of LLMs with predicting the next token, and it basically, instead of predicting text, you predict an action, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So how it works is that we call these VLAs, Vision Language Action Models. All of the top tier models use this, all of the generalist robotics models use this. So it takes in an image, it takes in a prompt, what to do, and then it will think about what the next sequence of actions would be. So normally maybe the 50 actions. So the next 50 time steps, it gives you the joints, the joint angles it should be. So it'll be like, okay, I want the shoulder to be at 0.1 floating point, and then or etc., and then I want the gripper to be at the stay. All of these things, right? But then again, the robot doesn't know what's going to happen as a result. So Yann LeCun, one of the, I would say, he's not the godfather of AI, that's Geoffrey Hinton, as they like to say. But Yann LeCun says that the LLMs are a dead end. LLMs are going to die within the next decade or something because of the nature of how they're architected. Because how do you expect the robot to do something but not know the consequences of his actions, right? Like if I go pick up a cup, and then, if somehow it's spilling or something, I don't know if the consequence of that, right? So robotics has a problem with that, and everyone is pushing with the LLM side. VLAs are so hyped right now. Everyone's pouring money and billions and billions into it. All of the top tier funds have completely stopped investing in SaaS products because, it's a dead end, I guess. But now they're pushing more in physical AI. Anyways, so Yann LeCun, he's proposed this architecture called JEPA. So it means Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture, sorry. And basically how it works is that before each action it produces, it creates a kind of world model. It kind of creates like a world view of how it would work when it does that, right? So let's say it goes to pick up a cup. It will then spin up a world model to then kind of simulate what would happen as a result of picking up this cup. So we'll go through different scenarios. It'll be like, okay, if I pick up this cup, what will happen as a result of it? If it's positive, then go ahead and do it. If it's negative, it will kind of find a different way of doing it. So kind of step back and then try and find a better approach. At the moment, it's nowhere close to VLAs. So VLAs are a lot better in terms of performance because how it works is that VLAs, just like LLMs, they collect a bunch of episodes, so demos, like robot data of the robot doing the action, and then you collect tens and tens of hours of it. However, with JEPA, Jan LeCun says that maybe you don't need all of that data. Maybe it's better if we have a better architecture, but we have better simulation setups, and maybe we can just produce that data from nothing, basically. So like how it works in training as well is that during training for JEPA, it would kind of give you images of like kind of patches of images, and then the model would train to then kind of fill up that image to then kind of get an understanding of like the worldview, basically. That's how you train a world model, basically. Like you can easily just feed it all the images, but then how would it know how to produce other images? So we're kind of mixing all of these architectures of generative AI, generative images, so diffusion, mixing in some aspects of transformers, obviously. But in general, I'm kind of in between, because we have a huge data collection problem in robotics. It's not as simple as LLMs, where LLMs just were able to take all the data from the internet. We were able to scrape all the internet, and from decades and decades. But robotics is not that simple, because no one's just uploading robotics data on the internet. We only have like videos from YouTube and whatnot. And with this Jan LeCun architecture, the JEPA, we might be able to just take YouTube videos from humans and whatnot doing things, and then kind of put that into the simulation, and then produce real actions. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still new to the robotics field, but I have a really good understanding now at this point that we are still quite far behind with fixing this data collection problem. But I'm quite positive that at some point we will find a kind of good middle ground, because we can't just generate real physical data. It just takes time. It might take another decade to get all this robotics data, but everyone's going to close it off. So whoever has the most capital to then burn with collecting, with hiring operators, robotics operators to actually do the demos, it might be the winner here. But then like physical intelligence have 500,000, or over 1 billion in funding at this point, and they have the most data. So that could be the biggest drawback, basically, with this approach.
Yeah, I mean, you're selling yourself short. I think you have worked in robotics for almost half a year now, but for those who don't know, get to know. But for those who don't know, you actually Parsa went through rational.school, and to learn more from Parsa, you can read at parsam.io, but sponsorship over. You joined, obviously a few years ago, we were talking, you joined Google at 18, and then Tesla at 20, and now you're in robotics at 22, and you're working on autonomous vehicles.
Well, autonomous vehicles, the company, so my company is called Yak AI. Like historically, we've worked in autonomous vehicles, and we have one of the largest data sets, open source data sets from vehicles, because we have like around 60 cars circle around Germany through driving schools just collecting data. So it's like a really good approach. But then when I was hired, it kind of kickstarted the whole robotics side of things. So we're working on a model, kind of generalize it across the vehicles and the robotic arms and whatnot. And we take a lot of inspiration from the JEPA architecture. So that's why I'm very familiar with this topic now at this point. Yeah, sorry, you were saying something.
No, that's it.
Okay, I wanted to touch on another thing, actually. So for example, like I agree with Jan on this, but I also think the results so far from JEPA hasn't been great. So for example, we have a bunch of models around this architecture. So we have VJEPA. So VJEPA is supposed to be a model for vehicles and robotics, for example, right? And the results were that with just like 60 hours of video footage, literally just videos of someone picking up a cup, they managed to get like an 80% success rate of picking up a cup without any sort of data of the robot doing it itself, just through videos. And I think it's pretty good, but again, as I said, it's still way further behind, because it can't fold laundry. Physical intelligence's first ever model released in 2024, end of 2024, is able to fold laundry, and it keeps getting better because they keep adding on more things to this the same architecture that they started out with. So maybe in Pi 1 they changed something. So Pi 0 is the first model. They've now released Pi 03, Pi 05, no, Pi 05, Pi 06, Pi 07 now. And Pi 07 is you're able to steer the model to do things that it's never seen before. So when we call something zero shot generalization, or doing something that's zero shot, it basically just means that it's doing a task that it has no idea of doing before. So far, VChecker is impressive with the amount of data it was given, but still we're quite far behind. So I just wanted to add on top of that.
I mean, it's old news now, but the Tesla Gigafactory that you and I worked in had a robot that made me pretty nice coffee.
Yeah, but that's not AI. That's
old tech. Yeah.
That's just general classical robotics.
So how can people? So let's say someone's young person wants to get into robotics, machine learning now.
Mm-hmm.
How do they? I guess
how can they get into
it? Forget how they get into it. We'll get onto that later. How do they? For someone who's generally just new to robotics,
mm-hmm.
they might know vanilla software engineering very well, but not necessarily robotics, which is an entirely different thing. So how do you identify the basics of, like, for example, that Tesla robot that made coffee versus, I don't know, what you're talking about, a robot that folds laundry?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like a robot just picking up a cup from the same spot and putting it in a coffee machine is pretty obvious. There's no cameras, there's nothing there. It's just mechanical. It's just someone programmed each coordinate, and then it goes.
That's why it was always broken.
Yeah, no, it was all right. It was so expensive though. I mean, it just looks cool. Like for the normies out there, like if I bring my mum or something to check it out, be like, whoa, robots. But then if you show them physical intelligence Pi Zero model folding laundry, that's like a whole different thing. That's impressive to me. There's a huge difference now, like between the old style and new style. Old style used to be, you would program everything. You would, if you hit like a sort of edge case, you would need to reprogram that robot to then handle that edge case. So everything was very mechanical. Now it's like, okay, let me give you the data and just like try and figure it out. Like it's going to be maybe less accurate, but it's much more better in the long term.
What do you make of, in the grand scheme of competition, then Tesla's Optimus?
Yeah,
because we haven't heard much about that.
Yeah, I mean, in the past few months, I haven't heard much. The thing is, like Tesla's, like Optimus, Figure AI's Helix model, and I forgot the name of their robots, Figure Zero or something like that. We also have like Boston Dynamics. We have Agility Robotics. All of these companies are really focused on humanoid robots. Humanoid robots are really different problem. And also there's Neo from 1X. There's also Sunday Robotics. Like all of these are, so either they're doing for manufacturing or they're doing for the home. And I think Optimus is trying to optimize for both. I think Tesla's in the strongest position because, they have all of the capital they need to burn. Like they have a shit ton of capital, and I've seen it firsthand. So especially when SpaceX's IPO happens, I wonder what will happen with Tesla. Maybe it gets acquired on the SpaceX somehow, or maybe they do something like that to make this one mega company. I can see that happening. But I think they're in the strongest position, especially with the talent as well that they have. They've pretty much not solved autonomous vehicles, but they have a very strong background with AI in general. Figure AI came out of nowhere, basically. Like they only were founded in, I think, 21 or something, 22. And they have both companies have a lot of hype around them, but I'm a lot more confident in Tesla actually solving a problem in a more in a cleaner manner. Yeah.
I don't know if regulators will allow SpaceX to acquire Tesla, but yeah, let's see. All right. Other topics.
I mean, I've spoken for a shit ton of time, bro. You let me know. What's been happening? What's on your mind?
Well, there's many things happening.
Go on.
We have seen recently the layoffs, which seems to be a never-ending story.
Yeah.
Meta laid off 8,000 people. And then there's the whole meme of every CEO now is doing a generic AI generated post like Coinbase and a few others.
Did you see ClickUp as well? I think it was ClickUp or something like that.
So we're seeing all of the same shit, but it's common sense that these layoffs are not due to AI, because you're seeing margins increase, profits are increasing quarter on quarter. These companies are mostly crushing it. This is simply due to overhiring in the ZIRP, zero interest rates era. And so now they're using AI as an excuse for layoffs, but it's got really not much or anything to do with AI. It's just being used as a scapegoat. And in addition to that, we're seeing, for example, everyone crying about it, but we've seen not just in US, but UK and Europe markets too, Western markets, employment markets, because a large part, I mean, this show is basically about tech and the future of work. I have a finger on the pulse in terms of all things employment, tech employment, work, future of work, all things encompassing work, basically. If you want to think about like my online friend Paul Millard, that type of thinking around work, and the Visi Andres, to building careers at, let's say, the OpenAIs and Anthropics, and me helping people get into big tech companies and scale-ups. So all types of, I've spent a lot of years, I pretty much spent my entire adulthood thinking about work, having worked in all the big finance and tech companies. Well, not all of them, but one in each sector. And thought a lot about work, think a lot about work. So basically, FT published an article, 5 university levers on what it really takes to land a graduate job. And they followed around or interviewed 5 grads in the UK, which is similar story to US and Europe as well. And they interview these 5 kids. One of them is saying, I haven't once spoken to a human being about a job, as in the interview process. Another one has said, I'm doing these applications at 2 a.m. Another one said, I spent 40 hours doing one application.
Okay.
And like all of these things, well, firstly, it makes me sad for them.
Yep.
But it does also make me laugh at how much of a joke the entire system has become. Well, firstly, they should, it's actually not a sponsorship segment, but they should be aware of the hacks at rational.school, because yourself, you worked with me for several years. My headline for the company is, founders raising VC are playing a game. Why are you as an employee not doing the same? The whole world runs on, this is why Charlie Munger's most gifted book was influenced by Robert Cialdini, which is like, the whole world runs on sales and the psychology of persuasion. So you'd be fucking laughing at how much smoke and mirrors are in the decks of VC-backed startups that raise funding. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there should be smoke and mirrors in your application, but there are hacks and strategies in terms of positioning yourself. And for example, one client I'm working with has got 15 plus years experience working with several right now. One of them is very experienced, got all the big names under his belt, but he was struggling in the market. Why? Because just having big names is not even enough anymore. So imagine if for him it's not enough, what it's going to be like for graduates, right? So, and now he's killing it after, going through rational.school and working through the accelerator program. So in a nutshell, it breaks my heart, but these kids are so naive, as is most of society. It's like the whole normie model of, and I don't know if we can throw up any tweets, but I'll read it out anyway. There's an elite funny Twitter account called @neet, NEET_sol. I think it's not in education, employment, or training, NEET.
Yeah.
NEET_sol.
Shout out Luke
And
Smith.
he had this tweet. Yeah. And he quote tweeted. So actually, First Squawk put out a tweet that said, new college grads now face higher unemployment than average US worker. So imagine a college graduate face higher unemployment than someone who didn't go to college. So then NEET's job is just to take the piss. I love this Twitter account. NEET quote tweeted it saying, go to college to get a degree, spend 4 years drowning in debt just to study. It can actually hurt your chances of getting hired. It's like the 3-step process, which is anything the system. I mean, this is not an escape the matrix kind of podcast, but me yourself that you yourself, you're a product of, you listened a few years ago, you never went down the college path.
No.
And now, you're in a position that any other 22-year-old would basically dream of. So the point is, when you defy or when you go against normie conventional advice of buy a house on a mortgage, which is what's happened to like the real estate market. Well, in London, all flats are pretty much selling less than what they were bought for. Generally across the UK, like the entire market's fucked. Employment market fucked. Like I could go on all day, but what is this a byproduct of? It's a byproduct of the whole system is just, why would you listen? It goes homage to, rest in peace, Steve Jobs, paraphrasing. He said something along the lines of, the world or what we have built around us was built by people no smarter than you or I.
Yeah.
And so the classic saying of it's idiots all the way up. Why the fuck would we listen to the conventional normie advice, which I did back in the day? I mean, I'm very glad you haven't. But like when I was late teens, early 20s, I was going that path of, I obviously got a degree, a master's, went into banking. I was in SVB's in a founding team in the UK and Europe. Obviously learned a lot. It was great. But today the game has entirely changed. It's a whole different world of, as Naval, take a shot Naval, as Naval says, careers are dead, jobs are dying, opportunities are rising, or something like that, right? So why the fuck would you get a degree which, I mean, I hope all of these colleges literally just go bankrupt, because some colleges should remain. We do need research. We do need people getting trained for medicine, law. We do need to keep humanities departments alive. I'm not saying colleges should all just be shut down, but a lot of colleges, like, I don't know, ranked 20th and below, that are selling cookie cutter bullshit degrees that teach you absolutely nothing that's useful for advancing the research in a field or for applying to the real world. If you want to talk about a real world application, which Taleb talks a lot about, like it's all just smoke and mirrors. You zoom out, it's all just fluff. It's all just utter bullshit. So these people struggling to get jobs, they just basically need to learn. It sounds so trite and clear. So escape the matrix, but they haven't learned that there is a game to be played. And of course, if everyone learns to play the game, firstly, most cannot learn to play the game because it's just not in them. You know, we discussed this a while back. What was it? Which is like,
you can't teach no man how to hustle. Some man just got it.
Is that a Dave bar or a Central
bar.
C? Dave bar, Dave. Yeah, shout out to the Mandem.
Shout out to the Mandem.
It's a bar from the ends. What a bar. Say it again.
Can't teach no man how to hustle. Some man just got it.
Yeah, you can't teach man how to hustle. Some man just got it. So there are people who don't know the information, and once they, like you, when you got the information, let's say from me a few years ago, and you just research generally, that's it. You executed. You come back within 3 days. Yep, did this, got this result. What next? Whereas most people are not like that. It will just go over their heads, and even if they get it, they execute poorly, or they. A lot of it is also you versus you in terms of a mindset thing. In terms of like, for example, if I do outreach, like the bar is so fucking low that you could do scripted outreach. Like I have a bunch of scripts in rational.school with strategies like reaching out to decision makers on LinkedIn for free. And you basically get results. You get they ping you back with a calendar link. Let's hop on a 15-minute call so I can find more about your story. And obviously they only acted on your script because of the way of you putting in inducing FOMO, social proof in your script, persuasion psychology, etc. And so they acted on it. The call to action is, they replied, let's get on a call. You'd be surprised, out of like every, 300 applicants, maybe 5 of them would do outreach, maybe less. And then the outreaches that they receive are so shitty and they suck. So people just fucking, the bar is so low. Like these, why would my heart break? Like my heart breaks for this person. I spent 40 hours doing one application. My G, in 40 hours,
you could have set up
I've got 10 to 15 interviews in the pipeline set up, plus more on the way, plus hundreds and hundreds of applications.
They don't know how to set up the infrastructure.
There's
in terms of, to quote Anton Krill.
Oh yes, Anton Krill, my G.
What a legend.
We can get on to the cell phone topic later, because recently, as you helped me set up GrapheneOS, leaving the iOS ecosystem after 15 years. But anyway, on the employment thing, if you have a job, what you should, so escape that matrix, but if you have a job, what you should be doing on the side.
Escape the matrix.
I mean, this is literally Taleb's advice in the books that you read as well, which is you have 1 foot in extremistan, 1 foot in mediocristan, your salary from your job, and then 1 foot in extremistan, right? Which is you should be tinkering, using the salary to tinker on the side, on the evenings, weekends. It's asymmetric. Your downside, your burn's taken care of, and you just focus on building. It's not guaranteed that you do something, but it's way easier, I think, and more feasible. I've done it. Many people I know have done it to build up self-employment, bootstrapped sources of income versus going the VC-backed path, which is another form of slavery in itself. Fuck that. But to be able to eventually leave your job, yeah, what's the goal? Well, managing your own time. How do you do that? Self-employment or setting up a business. How do you do that? Well, you use the job, you use the salary from the job as non-dilutive financing, and you just tinker on the side until you have, it's literally the Monish maxing that I popularized the term or coined, which is exactly what Monish Pabrai did back in the early 90s or whatever. In the first 9 months of his job, he would do just enough to not get fired, but not so shit that he'd get fired. And then he'd use all his free time to build. And eventually, I think his tech consulting practice was bringing in more income than his job. And then when he went to handing his resignation, they were like, you know, Monish, we realized you were not doing great in the job, but you were not that bad either that we'd fire you. And now it makes sense that, you know, you were building a business on the side or something. So that's basically...
But they also try to like offer him like double his salary or some shit.
Something, I think so. I don't know. But obviously, once you've tasted, as Naval says, once you get a taste of freedom, you become unemployable, basically. So Donnie tasted the freedom, and he said, fuck slavery. So, but what are like, if we zoom out, there's obviously some, and you could talk about this shortly as well, but like the hype of AI impacting jobs. I think in the short, medium term, people are fine, but eventually white collar work, knowledge work, a lot of it, we're seeing how people are saying no, but I think it is becoming increasingly impressive at an exponential rate. The models at cookie cutter jobs like, let's say, coding, or now even more so building financial models. Yep. So many things. It's not that no one will be needed in the workforce. It's that the need for employees will be reduced. And you'll just need, like, let's say, a few 100x engineers to use AI as like a team of software engineers, hypothetically, to manage the code base and build and do things. Versus now you have inflated teams, in my view, with what's on the corner. So what does one do? Well, build on the side, or you should either way be increasing your talent stack, as Scott Adams used to talk about, which is, if you're a software engineer, that's shit. You probably lose your job eventually in 10 years. You become irrelevant. But if you're a software engineer who, I'm making shit up here, who's also very good at sales or writing, persuasion psychology, who also speaks a popular foreign language, let's say now man is out here learning Deutsch, that opens you up to the markets of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, which are obviously more behind, especially Germany, Austria. And that's so like, and then you're adding a bunch of skills. It's like Naval gives the example on his OG How to Get Rich podcast. It's like suddenly you become one of, 3 people in the world who can be hired to do deep sea diving that sources gold or some shit like that. So that's basically like how I've become the one of like the tech hiring thing, right? There's many people that do tech hiring, but their results are not as good as mine. It's not necessarily something it's not my life's work, but I'm very good at it. Same way other things I've done, what you're doing now, like you in robotics, your talent stack is adding multiple skills. So increasing your talent stack, building things on the side, and by building the iterative process, as Taleb says, the real world will give you enough feedback and information that you learn from anyway, that you cannot get from books or theory or conventional academia, which is why you have to be operating in the real world. And then beyond that, what do you do beyond that? Well, right now you need to be funneling away cash into index funds to the extent possible, so that compounds and that covers some burn at a rate where, end of the day, it's all about time or currency freedom to not have to essentially be a slave. So how do you do that? Well, extra income on the side, investing income in index funds, increasing your skills and talent stack, skill stacking. But yeah, that's basically eventually. And then the other option is just go fucking learn something physical like plumbing or electrician or whatever. You should generally be, what's that saying? I can't remember who said it. I've quoted it a few times. He's like, a man should be able to fish, code, chop wood, raise kids, and like do like 50 things, which is like the whole generalism thing. Or like what I think is like you should be T-shaped, have depth in one area but breadth in several or many. Because that is, I think, the direction the world's going in. And it sounds so trite and cliche. You hear or read people writing this kind of shit on Twitter, but everything I've said is a combination of things, of my personal views on experience and where I think things are going. But I don't have a crystal ball. I could be talking out of my ass. Anyone who says they know what's going to happen is lying.
Yeah.
But that's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, learn fucking sales. If you're not getting a job, rational.school, or learn sales, or read at the bare minimum Robert Cialdini's Influence. There's a reason it was Munger's most gifted book. And I just, if you're young and you're at home, you're like, what the fuck do you have to lose? You got no rent, you got no family, you got nothing. Just fucking set up a business, get in the real world. What have you got to lose?
Yeah, I feel like people want everything to be done for them. They kind of just want to sit on their asses and like I think
fall in your lap. It's an entitlement as well, which is like these dickheads who bought properties and they're like they list it on the market at more than what they paid for it. Mind you, if they even drop the price 10%, it still might not sell in today's market in London. So it's like, it's entitlement to, my property is worth this much, or I spent this much time and money on a degree, so I must just apply to three jobs and get a job.
I feel like the university mindset is to rely on the whole infrastructure around university. They really rely on the teachers, the assistants and whatnot to like kind of guide them with the CVs, but then the teachers themselves are the biggest normies on the planet. So like, what do you expect from that?
It's the worst advice I got in college and uni I got for resume. I just ignored all of it.
It was horrible. Oh my God, I remember.
Why I basically got the best job out of my entire uni department.
Because literally most of the times when I have a decision to make and everyone else is doing the same thing and I go the other way, it has served me way better. That's literally one of the like best rules I've
that's what I was referring to, the neat_sol tweet, which is like, go to college to get a degree, step 1. Step 2, spend 4 years drowning in debt just to study. Step 3, it can actually hurt your chances of getting hired because now someone without a degree faces lower unemployment than someone with a degree.
You don't have
it's
any
like
debt,
the whole normie advice, just ignore all that bullshit. And as OG Anton Krill says, you should seek your own further education, not conventional.
Seek alternative education.
And this whole the last thing while I'm venting here, this whole celebrity worship in our culture, which includes worship of successful company executives, founders, people in tech, VCs, that whole thing of like, oh, they put these people on a pedestal. I see all of society as equal, but I see VCs as below me.
Yeah.
All of society is equal, but VCs are below me. But generally speaking, this celebrity worship needs to stop. Like idolizing some founders. It's very. I think I sent you a tweet. Was it from Will Menidis? He wrote a few weeks ago. I think I sent
the grind slop.
He wrote, the grind slop.
The grind slop.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's a good article.
Really good article he wrote on X. And he's talking about like just this putting founders or this whole grind thing on a pedal. Like this is why I always say I should smack everyone with a copy of Fooled by Randomness, because firstly, you don't want to emulate any of these founders. Every single one of them has a shitty personal life or some big shortcoming. Pretty much 99% of them have shit lives that you don't want to emulate, where they optimize for one thing and fuck up in everything else. And then secondly, even if you were to emulate everything they did, it's literally what Fooled by Randomness teaches, which is you could copy every single variable, your outcome would be entirely different. And you don't see the huge graveyard or failed cases. You only hear the
success story,
classic survivorship bias. But anyway, system's fucked. That's a conclusion. And but we're not doom and gloom here. We provide solutions, and the solution is be self-sufficient, and no one's coming to save you, and have agency. Have agency and seek
freedom, independence.
In every sense, which is in terms of your education, in terms of your work, in terms of everything. It's not an overnight fucking thing. We're all still doing it, but you compound it over many years, many decades, and because what other option do you have? Unless you're an inheritance baby, but then you're not anti-fragile because it's all handed to you on a plate.
Exactly.
And without sounding trite, the whole purpose is the journey, not the destination. So,
bow. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that's all we wanted to talk about today. I think.
Do you want to touch on, or not really? Do you want to touch on OpenAI? Last thing I've seen on FT. Biggest ChatGPT overhaul since launch. Quick one.
Yeah. So
what have they said, and what's your verdict?
Yeah. So OpenAI the other day, like a few days ago, they had this event. They discussed around how they want to revamp ChatGPT. And kind of make it like the super app. They want to merge codecs. They want to merge everything into this one super app. And I think it's a really dumb fucking idea. There's many reasons, but the first reason is that I hate magic apps. I just hate super apps. I think most developers just hate having like the personal kind of normie side of things mixed in with like the developer side of things. The reason why Claude and Anthropic did so well is because they were really pushing for developers. They knew developers. They focused on that. They pioneered the whole CLI tool. I mean, I don't know exactly, but Claude Code was the biggest one. Kind of, people are now looking for like the Claude Code moment, not the ChatGPT moment. So kind of, I think this is a bit dumb. I think the ChatGPT on the personal side of things, like Claude did so well because, they had the developers, and OpenAI still has this sort of normie, like ChatGPT just feels kind of like a normie app to me still. Even though their models, in my experience, I've been using Codex a lot recently, they tend to be a lot more, they tend to be better in general. Like GPT 5.5 extra high reasoning is really, really good. And I fucking hate when, I'm not a big fan of Claude that much anymore because it talks so much. It's not my therapist. Like, I don't care. You don't need to give me a 50,000 essay, 50,000 word essay on the fix you just made. Just tell me, like, Codex just, yeah. I think ChatGPT needs a revamp on the UI side of things. It's very lacking behind Claude. Claude is elite when it comes to the UX. But yeah, like there's so many separate things, and I just wish people would stop trying to like make everything into one and just keep them separate. This is the Unix philosophy. Like each thing needs to do it properly and be separated. Like we have grep, we have sed, we have all of these apps, and they all kind of like can come together at some point to interact with each other through scripts or whatever, but they're separate from each other. Like you're not going to put grep, so you're not going to put grep and sed and all of these things into one command line tool. So yeah, I don't know.
Donnie's talking about Unix. The conversation turned autistic real quick.
Yeah, but okay, we might as well talk autistic. Tell me about
you want to talk about graphene?
Yeah.
All right, this is a long discussion. I think it will go on over several weeks.
Okay.
Because you have introduced me over the years slowly more to this world, and me putting my autism hat on is I've obviously been getting more into it. So I think eventually, who knows? As we discussed before, I think I'll eventually may hop onto Linux. But
oh nah, no way.
I think I'll touch on it lightly, but let's expand more next week. Basically, well, you're a laptop nerd, i.e. you know all about Linux, mod, all this bullshit stuff, yeah?
Fucking unk over here.
I sound like an Iranian boomer unk. Bullshit, laptop. Anyway. But while you've been autistic with, desktop, laptops, etc., I've been a bit of a nerd with mobile devices from a young age. I obviously had the BlackBerries. I hopped on the iPhones very early, like back then I was, I don't know, in my teens, late teens. I got iPhone pretty early on before others had it. And I've been with iOS for over 15 years, more. But along the way, there were many times, you remember, I obviously showed you where I had I hate the term dumb phone because I actually think the dumb phone is the modern smartphone. The true phone is the OG phone. But there were periods where I would like lock away the iPhone and I would use a BlackBerry or a Nokia. This
you even had a Pixel, I remember, like a Pixel 4 or something.
Yeah, Pixel 2.
Pixel 2, yeah.
So this was all like in the last 6, 7, 8 years. I went through Nokias, Blackberries, and then they were like, we're discontinuing BlackBerry support. No longer will get 3G, 4G, whatever. I can't even make calls to text. And then I was like, great. Now I need to go to a Pixel 2 with a minimalist launcher. And I've thought a lot about. I was obviously reading Cal Newport's Deep Work like around the time it came out, before it was a thing, before the term was even coined in the industry. So I've thought a lot about how do we abandon these fucking bullshit devices that has turned, again, going back to the thing of how do you go against what normies and society does because they just do it without questioning how much of your life is passing you by. Our only true currency is time. So I've always, from like first principles, I've always thought, how can we, reclaim our, if you will, agency, life, etc. So I've always had these devices, and me and you understand, being Mr. Worldwide, Mr. International, being in overseas waters, as they say, international waters, we require, for that reason, then you're like, all right, if man's not in England as regularly, I require iOS because of its seamless integration with so many things, so many apps, with my Mac OS, with so many things. And I knew that there's a way to escape it, but it would literally take like a week's full-time work to leave. You've been in the iOS system for 15 years. So like even when I had BlackBerries and Nokias, the iPhone would be locked away as the second phone, but you'd get it out at nighttime or something. So you'd still have it. But now I was like, how do you legit leave that damn thing for good? Right? And now what I use the iPhone for is a continuity camera to like record this, which is a great way actually. But I basically, you're aware, I got a Pixel, pretty new Pixel, Google Pixel, and installed GrapheneOS on it. With minimalist, one of the minimalist O launchers and grayscale and all of that shit. This is stuff you could have you can make your iPhone black and white. Yes, we all know that. You can introduce screen time bullshit, whatever. Yes, you can introduce locks and apps. In the end, iOS is created like a slot machine. And on top of that, it's the privacy concerns as well. But this Pixel with Graphene, with minimalist O launcher, with all the other things I've done to it, is such shit UX UI, but it works amazingly just for communication. So like your messengers, your text call, whatever, Discord, etc. So like it's basically, the phone is for communication, which is what it was intended to be, and basic apps. You've got like Maps and Uber and whatever. But people going now, there was one guy who tweeted about his dumb phone. He got this old flip phone and it blew up. It went viral. I've done all of this shit. I think that's cope. I mean, if you live close to all of your friends' family and you never leave your little US town or city, sure, that type of phone would work for you. But when you're Mr. Worldwide, Mr. International, you need a setup that is smart yet dumb. And having tried absolutely everything, I think this is the best. Your mileage may vary depending on your dopamine receptors. But this for me is a fucking elite. For my screen time is like drastically gone down. The phone is literally just for comms now. And secondly, much, much, much better privacy, which is, I think we can wrap up this conversation with you talking a little bit about the nerdy side of GrapheneOS. Because I just talk about it makes your UX UI so shit that
you don't want to use the phone anymore. Yeah.
That you don't want to use it except for comms, which is perfect. But there's huge added benefits of obviously privacy. You know, I've always had a foot in that world as well, which is I'm just not nerdy enough like the Luke Smith's OG. But maybe you want to talk a little bit about that, like how Luke Smith paved the way for you to get down this privacy conscious path. I mean, and Linux as well, which eventually I think, it's tough for me to leave Mac OS, but eventually I'll probably hop on Linux as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've been speaking for like 50 minutes now, so I would rather not speak.
Give us your thoughts before we go. But the last thing I'll say before you talk about it is like it's the why. The question is why. Well, for me, it goes back to like the whole self-sufficient thing of independence, of freedom. Like you're removing yourself. When I was in the Apple ecosystem, I was like, when I was trying to leave Apple, it took me a week to set everything up and leave Apple. Because you're just so embedded in this ecosystem. Well, you're so.
I think that's a skill issue because I've been switching between. Fucking bastard. All right, listen.
All right, Wozniak. All right.
All right. Who are you? Okay, so back in my Google days, we would get Pixel devices to test run to kind of dog food. So at this point, it was a Pixel 8 before it would release. And this was kind of like my first foray into Android. I've had a phone for like 7 years or something. When I think about it, it's actually a really short time. But anyways, switching over to Android wasn't that hard. I guess the problem is that you become so dependent on all these cloud services at the end of the day, no matter what platform you're on. Like if you're on iOS and Android, they're basically the same thing at this point. They've converged into a phone, a smartphone, and every day is all the same. But I think where people need to kind of be more intentional with is, usage of these apps and whatnot. Usage of the apps, screen time, all of this shit. And people become so reliant on apps in general where they don't need an app. They can just use a web app. Like I'm a really big proponent of just like deleting all the apps and just using the website. Web apps. Yeah, web apps are way better. Like they're so capable. People still have a wrong idea of websites in general. They think they're clunky. Like sure, maybe on iOS 2 or something, you would rather use an app. But the web is so capable now, it's insane. Like I rarely install apps unless I need to, unless there's some real reason. It's just more convenient or some shit. Yeah. But anyways, I think on the privacy side of things as well, I've changed kind of my stance on this many times over the past few years. Like nowadays, especially with LLMs, like I just dump all my data. I don't give a fuck. Like if it's gonna do something for me, I just give it all my data. If I give it my finances, if I give it whatever, my personal information, and it's gonna produce a better result for me, I don't give a fuck. I think this might just be a Gen Z Zoomer thing, but this might, like a lot of kids around me, we don't care like about the data, the privacy aspects. But I also like it really depends. Like it's not like I'm giving all my data everywhere. I still put dodgy emails on things I don't really trust. Like I'll write some random bullshit. And I would like to go to GrapheneOS like you have, but again, like I don't really see a benefit for me yet. Yeah, I don't know. Linux maybe. Linux as a machine, as a developer machine is elite. But macOS, the hardware is just so good that you can't get away from it. Like Apple's hardware is elite. What
about let's say my my MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Let's say once it starts to deteriorate in performance,
yeah.
It usually happens after a few years. Mm-hmm. Then would it make sense to go Linux on this device because the hardware is good or no?
On the Mac? On the MacBook? Yeah. Linux on the No. There's something called Asahi Linux, which, when M1 machines arrived, they kind of like reverse engineered MacBooks to kind of get Linux running, and it runs, but just get like a framework laptop at that point. Framework laptops, ThinkPad, sure, but framework laptops are pretty good at this point. Anytime someone wants to get a Linux machine, they would just get a framework laptop and then make it modular and upgrade. I have a friend, he has a framework laptop, he's pretty happy with it. But for the foreseeable future, for the next maybe 5, 10, I don't know, years, I highly doubt I'll ever switch to Linux like full time.
Do you think Linux is going to get better? Like for example,
yes.
Because it's funny. Shout out OG Unk Aaron Clary. He's the same mindset of like same as he's in that category of like the Luke Smiths of the world, which you watch a lot back in the day, which is just all about having agency, being independent in every sense, self-sufficient, etc. And Aaron Clary switched to Linux, but then his microphone, it was so funny because he is Unk, and his microphone sounded like utter shit the first few weeks because like Linux is different. You got to set everything up manually. Do you think Linux is going to be eventually more?
It already is
out of the box, normie friendly.
I think it already is. I think people just aren't aware of it. And there used to be this whole debate back in 2018 or something, 2019. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Tech Lead?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, fucking biggest snake oil salesman of generation. Holy shit, yeah. Anyways, he made this video saying why Linux is a waste of time because you have to pay with your money, not with. Sorry, you have to pay with your time. Sorry. And it was kind of like all the Linux neck bids went absolutely ape shit. They're like, no, what do you mean? You're just dumb. You don't know how to use Linux, blah, blah. And Tech Lead had a point, I think. But you kind of just need that dog in you to use Linux back in the day. Nowadays, David Heinemeier, Hansen, DHH, the Ruby on Rails guy.
Omarchi, right?
He created it's not a distribution. It's more like just it feels like someone's dot files. Dot files are just like config files you would boot up to save your to move between machines. But he set that up, and a lot of normies coming from macOS, they're like, oh my god, look at all these tiles, look at all these themes. I love my capuchin pink theme. You know, they get so wet over these things now, and it's kind of brought a lot of attention to Linux in general as a workstation, and it works. But like, you know, the kids install these things, like they aren't the like neckbeard Linux types, and that kind of pisses off the neckbeard Linux types, right? I also sound like a neckbeard now, you know, like. Anyways, cheers.
It's a good thing Iman's not here. He'd switch off at this autistic
conversation. Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we did it today. When he's back, he can talk about markets.
Markets, come on.
All right, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, so no, I'm almost done with it. Basically, I was want to say that, you know, you can't teach no man how to Linux. Some man's done. Basically, I'm just going to say, either like, if you really want to get deep in these things, you got to really be deep in Linux. Pause. But Linux is going to become normie friendly, and it already is normie friendly, I think. But even more so, especially with these.
I buy a new Mac, I fire it up. It's always how it is. Yeah. It starts to work immediately out the box. Like whatever, I want to record a podcast with you. Yeah. Within 60 seconds,
you can get that with Ubuntu easily. Ubuntu has always been the case, and framework laptops, they're going to start shipping with Linux, I'm pretty sure, or something like that.
I mean, I'm a person who figures it out, and actually, like the graphene process, in the end, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But it's because I had a few days just to fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure when I carve the time for Linux, it will be the same, and it's just very freeing to feel independent from the bullshit systems of these corporations that try to trap you. Escape the matrix. Escape the matrix.
Oh, we've been talking for a long time. It's almost an hour. I think we should.
It's good, man. Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want.
Give the 5 people what they want.
My mom, my dad.
The Mandem back in the block.
Mandem back in the ends. Listen to some Nokia thing, bro.
All right, thank you for listening. This show has been brought to you by Rational.School, the world's leading tech hiring accelerator. Selective intake by application only, 90% plus placement rate. You can get a job in tech if you want or not. Or you can keep struggling like the grads in the FT article. Hope they get a job soon, but the market is tough, so Rational.School. And this show is also brought to you by Parsa.m.io, the world's leading technical blog on robotics and machine learning. Thank you for listening. tmbc.now is the website. You can enter your email and join Technology Mandem monthly. Mandem, thank you for listening. Parsa, anything else?
Stay blessed. Stay foolish.
All right. See you next week. Safe, cuz.
Safe, Mandem.